A very confusing but understandable situation just went down with the Los Angeles Lakers and the Charlotte Hornets. The Lakers have decided to rescind their trade for Mark Williams, which included rookie Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, a 2031 first-round pick, and a 2030 pick swap. It's a very strange situation. I was trying to figure out when was the last time an NBA trade has been rescinded, but all I get is articles talking about this. So if anyone has that information or remembers anything particular, to comment it down below, because I'm actually genuinely interested when was the last time this happened. But this season, Mark Williams, in the games he's only played in 23 games. He's averaged 15.6 points, 9.6 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 58.6% from the field. He's been great in the games that he's played in, right? That has always been the Mark Williams thing, at least this season. Last season, he only played in 19 games. His rookie season, he played in 43. He's played in a total of 85 games over his two and like a little over a half seasons in the NBA. That's not something you want to hear. You traded a lot of future assets for, though I would argue that this is the Lakers not giving up a whole lot, because that was the whole deal for the Luka Doncic trade. So they just went out and took everything that they were going to give to the Mavs and gave it to the Hornets. So it didn't really matter what they were giving up in this situation, because, you know, you're already playing with house money, in my opinion. But it is very confusing, because you look at this and you say, wow, is Mark Williams really truly that cooked as far as his body goes? And Shams came out and said it wasn't his back in particular. It was a multitude of injuries. And it is interesting because you have to have an immense amount of trust in your training staff and your medical staff to be able to identify these sort of things and tell the front office to not do the trade. Like, there are plenty of times in history in which the front offices have just gone ahead with trades that, you know, physicals didn't really necessarily pass with flying colors or things of that nature. The Lakers obviously failed Mark Williams. They told the front office, and the front office believed them. And that, you know, sometimes doesn't happen. Sometimes there's a disconnect there. So for this to actually be fully rescinded and Mark Williams was going to be your center of the future, it's a big deal, because now the Lakers are playing with multitude of different assets that they didn't have beforehand, assets that I think should have gone to the Mavericks, in my opinion. But, you know, thanks, Nico. It's just an entirely weird situation, because I feel for Mark Williams as a player, because not only do you have to go back to the Charlotte Hornets, but this could affect your contract in, I think he's extension eligible summer 2027. I think he's still on his rookie deal, and that extension is going to look sizably smaller than should be because of this situation. And, you know, it's 2 years from now. If Mark Williams has two decently healthy seasons, the Hornets feel pretty confident in him. They will give him the money because he's been great. But if the Lakers end up being correct on this situation, damn, no matter how much hate you got in your heart, and I know a lot of NBA fans got some hate in their heart out there, you never want to see this sort of situation. So for me to kind of see this whole thing go down and Lakers fans be ecstatic that Mark Williams has been playing well and he's on their team now, and Luka will throw him, you know, gosh, I still can't believe Luka. Now I'm sad again. But he was supposed to be the center of the future, and now it's this whole awkward situation where it's like Dalton Knecht comes back in the locker room, and it's like, yeah, buddy, we traded you for Mark Williams or Cam Reddish, though I think a lot of people have already completely forgotten he was part of this deal at all. Everyone's like, oh, it's awkward for Dalton Knecht. Do y'all remember Cam Reddish exists? Like, have we written him off? Everyone was always talking about how he needed another opportunity, and then he could present himself as a solid scorer, efficient, plays good defense, and so far we've only got the plays good defense part of his career. So I'll be interested to see if people remember that he was part of this deal. Anyway, it doesn't matter because the deal no longer exists. And this whole scenario kind of puts the Lakers in a bit of an awkward situation, because now you've got Jackson Hayes as your starting center, and that's just not going to cut it for a team that has aspirations that they do. And LeBron's on a short timeline, right? You've only got, I don't want to say a number. Your time is limited with LeBron James. He's 40 years old. He's going to be 41 next season. You never know what that means, but as of late, ever since Luka got there, he's gone into his bag again, and it's like, and then Austin Reeves had 45 today, which was incredible. It's funny because the only thing the team needs in its current form right now, the way they're playing, is a solid starting center that catches lobs, rim runs, maybe even shoots in the occasional three ball if you wanted him to. Obviously, Mark Williams can't shoot the three ball. He hasn't made one his entire career. And yes, he has his defensive questions on whether he can be a true defensive center for a playoff team. That's always up in the air with these young bigs. But I think big men that are so talented can learn those sort of, timing things. It is a bit innate. Some guys have it and some guys don't. But I think Mark Williams had plenty of potential to turn into that guy. He's only in his third season. And again, he's only played in 85 NBA games. Like, we really truly don't know what he's capable of. But if this injury stuff is true and the Lakers see him as damaged goods, then the rest of the teams in the NBA will see him as damaged goods. And that is very unfortunate for Mark Williams because, again, like I said, when he's contract extension eligible and maybe he tests free agency or he's in restricted free agency, that's going to cost him some money, and that's unfair. The few Hornets games that I've watched, I thought he's been awesome. I mean, I tuned into a game the other day because of him. That doesn't really happen with the Hornets very often. It's only for LaMelo, and then it's to hate watch Miles Bridges. But other than that, like, there's no real point in turning into Charlotte Hornets games right now, especially with Brandon Miller out for the season. So where do the Lakers go from here? Well, you can't go anywhere from here because the trade deadline is already passed and you don't have any alternate moves you can make. You can't go get Robert Williams for a first. None of these situations can really pan out like you thought they were going to because now you have to enter the offseason trying to acquire a big. And everyone knows you want to acquire a big man, and that's a very difficult thing. It took the Mavericks 6 years to be able to acquire a decent big in Daniel Gafford and to draft one in Derek Lively. They did a very good job finding those guys, but it took them half a decade to do so. And I believe the Lakers can learn a little bit from what the Mavericks experimented with. Gave them a couple bigs that were skinnier, more athletic in JaVale McGee and Willie Cauley-Stein, which was just an insane era. And those guys didn't really work with Luka. They weren't talented enough as far as like rim running dunkers. They weren't that great defenders. Daniel Gafford, since the turn of 2025, leads the league in blocks if Victor Wembanyama didn't exist, which is very impressive. It's very, very impressive. For a guy that split time most of the time this season, that got relegated to a bench role, being an energy guy, coming in and being a good center. I don't even know why I'm talking about the Mavs. Anyway, Daniel Gafford's a great player. You have to go out and find your Daniel Gafford or your Derek Lively, and those guys don't grow on trees. That is simply a fact. So whether you got to go out and get Daniel Gafford yourself by trading for him, maybe trading a first for him, maybe Mavs will be interested in that. I don't think so, but maybe they would be. Or drafting, hopefully, luckily, a guy that just comes in and fits perfectly with Luka, which is incredibly rare. It's really funny because I feel like this Lakers roster right now is in a very similar situation in which the Mavs, obviously they're more talented, significantly more talented than the 2022 Mavs team that made it to the Western Conference Finals. But in the situation of the bigs, where they're going to have Jackson Hayes out there, and he's not quite the connector Dwight Powell is. Dwight Powell, I think, is the best third-string center in the league, and I think he could very well be a backup anywhere he really wanted to in the league. He just loves Dallas. For me, Jackson Hayes is a good, decent rim-running center, a decent defender, and that's about it. Like, the guy is, has had plenty of opportunity, and at this stage in his career, he's just simply not going to be a starting quality center. If you squint, you can convince yourself and be like, maybe Luka can make him better, and maybe Luka will get this man paid, because he's gotten many big men paid over the years. The Mavs try to run Richaun Holmes out there with Luka, and honestly, some nights it worked. So you give Luka anyone, and I think he will make it work. Same with LeBron. Obviously, you would much prefer a healthy Mark Williams, but that's just something that doesn't exist, and it's a shame. So, weird situation. Where do the Lakers go from here? We'll talk about it more in the offseason because we quite literally can't talk about it anymore. There are no trades to be done anymore. Trade deadline is gone and past, and we just got to see what this Lakers team can do with the players they have now. And they've been cooking as of late, even without LeBron out there tonight or Luka at all. They've been excellent these last two games. So, we'll see how they look against the Jazz on Monday. But yeah, sad situation. Feel bad for Mark Williams. Awkward situation for the Lakers. Got to bring back a rookie that you traded for, another guy, and the feelings will be hurt. And I doubt Dalton Connect is on the team next season. He'll probably get traded for another big, and that'll be another whole weird situation. So y'all take care. I'm